riding his bike from time to time, I'm sure. And in his walk and rides around the community, I'm interested in finding out what Pastor Bruce Wall thinks about the West Roxbury situation, and actually the Roxbury situation and the Dorchester situation with regards to transportation. Well, the city of Boston has made its decision, or making its decision, on West Roxbury. We'll see how that plays out. Speaking of playing out, let's talk about Harvard University and the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court that we mentioned and talked about last week. Yeah. Civil rights groups in Boston are challenging the legacy admissions at Harvard University. You know what a legacy admission is. Well, if you don't, legacy admissions are essentially this, and let me walk you through it. A legacy admission is essentially saying that someone through generations who attended Harvard University, oh, back in the day, yeah, back even going back 100 or so years ago, has the right to attend the university from son to son to son to son, or daughter to daughter to daughter to daughter. Yeah, legacy admissions over at Harvard University. And they're saying, yeah, African Americans that are saying that the legacy admissions, yeah, is a practice of that discriminates against students of color by giving an unfair boost to the mostly white children of alumni. Yeah, you get it. Yep. That's what folks are saying. The civil rights group is actually saying that there is a major challenge that needs to be addressed by, yeah, again, the Supreme Court. The practice of giving priority to children of alumni has faced growing pushback in the wake of last week's Supreme Court decision ending affirmative action in higher education. The NAACP added its weight behind the effort on Monday, asking more than 1,500 colleges and universities to even the playing field in admissions, including ending legacy admissions. Well, I say it's about time, my good friends. This legacy admissions has hampered, the African American community, for years, in being able to get into Ivy League and not so much Ivy League universities. Hold on and wait a minute. The civil rights complaint was filed on Monday by the Lawyers for Civil Rights, or what is called the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, a nonprofit based in Boston, on behalf of Black and Latino community groups in New England, alleging that Harvard University's admissions system violates, the Civil Rights Act. The fact is, and some people are saying, including Ivan Espinosa, the group's executive director, Ivan says, why are we rewarding the children for privilege and advantage to accrue, this priority for generations? I listen. Fact of the matter is that this has been going on for generations. Over at Harvard University, it's like all of the folks that, well, maybe not all, but a whole bunch of the folks that graduate from Harvard have had their children, if they wish, go to Harvard and get special admissions from year to year, generation to generation. And it's about time. I was going to say something else, but I can't say it on this radio station. Yeah, it's about time that this end. Well, there are going to be opponents, and the opponents are saying that the practice is no longer defensible. Without affirmative action providing a counterbalance, the court's ruling says that colleges must ignore the race of applicants, activists point out, but schools can still give a boost to children of alumni and donors. Oh, look at the Supreme Court doing what it does. Yeah. Don't you think in so many ways that we have found ourselves going back to Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, segregated school systems because of the Supreme Court decision? Oh, that's a fact, my good friends. You don't believe me? Think about it, my good friends. Think about it. Here's the deal. The complaint submitted to the U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights Division draws on Harvard University data that came to light amid affirmative action case that landed before the Supreme Court. The records revealed, and listen to this, my good friends, the records revealed that 70% of Harvard's donor-related and legacy applicants are white. And being a legacy student makes an applicant roughly 6 times more likely to be admitted. Yeah. So that's the concern, my good friends. That's a deep concern. We in the African American communities across America, and particularly in Boston, Massachusetts, where Harvard University or Cambridge, Harvard, Cambridge, Boston, Cambridge, it draws an attention to other colleges as well that have abandoned the practice amid questions about its fairness, including Amherst College. Yep. And Johns Hopkins University here, yep, in Baltimore, Maryland. The complaint alleges that Harvard's legacy preferences has nothing to do with merit and takes away slots from qualified students of color. And then that's a fact, my good friends. Oh, yeah. When I was up in Boston and went to the University of Massachusetts, I would have preferred, I should be ashamed of myself, I would have preferred to go to Harvard University, but guess what? The admissions criteria provided an opportunity for others to get in versus me. Why? Because of Harvard's legacy admissions. That's a fact. I should be a claimant. I should sue Harvard University for my inability to go to Harvard University. I went and took some classes, but I was never admitted as a graduate student. Dear me. Yeah. Fact is that spots given to a legacy or donor related applicant is a spot that becomes unavailable to an applicant who meets admissions criteria based purely on his or her merit. That's a fact. Oh, by the way, yeah, I would have loved to be have been admitted to Harvard University. Maybe I should have just came on down here in my youthful years and actually went to Howard University, HU. Maybe I should have did that instead, just came up down here Actually, in thinking about it, I wish I did. Yeah, fact is, as I said, the spot is given to legacy and donor related applicants as a spot that becomes again unavailable to essentially some Black applicants from Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Roslindale, and other parts of the city of Boston. Fact is, Harvard University should be ashamed of itself. Actually, Harvard University was reached out to, and Harvard University said no comment on the complaint. No comment. Yeah. Last week, the university reaffirmed its commitment to fundamental principle that deep and transformative teaching, learning, and research depends on a community comprising of people of many backgrounds, perspectives, and life experiences. And the university said in a prepared statement, all that is gobbledygook. All that doesn't make a difference, Harvard University. All that is intellectual garbage. Yep, that's what I said. Intellectual garbage. Let me read that statement from Harvard University again, what they said. Oh, and listen to what they say, or what they didn't say. Last week, and this is a quote from Harvard University, last week, the university reaffirmed its commitment to fundamental principles that are deep and transformative in terms of teaching, learning, and research, and depends upon a community comprising of people of many backgrounds, perspectives, and life experiences. The university indicated in that statement. What does that statement say? Transformative teaching, learning, research depends on community comprising of people of many backgrounds. Well, if that's the case, Harvard University, and this is not an attack on Harvard, this is just telling the facts, their facts. Harvard University uses their own data and shared it in a response to a Supreme Court action. It came to light amid the affirmative action case that landed before the Supreme Court. The records revealed that 70% of Harvard's donor-related and legacy applicants are, white. And being a legacy student makes the applicant roughly 6 times more likely to be admitted. Did you hear what I said? 6 times more likely to be admitted. So here's the contradiction, my good friends. This is the contradiction. Is that Harvard University, I got to keep on going back to their statement because it's a big intellectual contradiction. The university says that it reaffirms its commitment to fundamental principles that are deep and transformative in terms of teaching, learning, and research, and depends on communities comprising of people of many backgrounds, perspectives, and lived experiences. Well, how is that reality, Harvard University? Oh, don't get me wrong. It's a great institution, kind of, sort of, except when it excludes people of color because it has that legacy program. Oh, yeah. and they doubled down on it. They're going to keep their legacy program, I guess. Let's get back to the facts. I talked facts just then, but let's get back to more facts. The complaint was filed on behalf of Chica Project, the African Community Economic Development of New England, and the Greater Boston Latino Network. Yeah, groups of Blacks and Latinos coming together to challenge Harvard University. I salute them. Here's the deal. Monday of this week, the NAACP launched a campaign aiming to get universities across the nation to promote campus diversity. Well, NAACP, I love you, but kind of a little too late. Brown versus Board of Education was 1954. What you've been doing in relationship to education? Why did it take so long, NAACP? Love you. But why did it take you so long to launch a campaign aiming to get universities across the nation to promote campus diversity? What? Monday? Oh, this is my critical day today, talking all things politics live here on Boston Black News. I'm your host, Leon Rock. We're talking about Harvard University and how affirmative action ruling of the Supreme Court is now causing Blacks and Latinos to come together to challenge a legacy admissions policy at Harvard University, which I salute. Also on Monday, the NAACP launched that campaign aiming to get universities across the nation to promote campus diversity. Yeah. The group called on 532 public and 1,134 private colleges and universities to end legacy preferences, eliminate racial bias in education, entrance policies, like entrance exams, recruit diverse faculty, and support low-income and first-generation students with scholarships, mentoring, and among other steps. I'm going to say it again, my good friends. This is someone from the outside looking in, even though I was inside of the Boston branch of the NAACP many years ago, when Tom Atkins and Ed Red and folks like that were in leadership positions of the NAACP locally. I'm on the outside now of the NAACP, and I raised the question out loud. Hey, National Office of the NAACP, where have you been? Does it take a Supreme Court decision for the NAACP to come back alive? Yeah. Because they've been in a kind of sort of dead zone. Yeah, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of telling the truth. Yeah. The NAACP says, well, Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP, says it's our hope that the nation's institutions will stand with us in embracing diversity no matter what. Listen, I ain't never heard of such. Listen, the NAACP is asking these national institutions, these academic institutions, to stand with them in embracing diversity no matter what. Well, if they were standing with the NAACP and Brown versus Board of Education, and over the past number of years, these legacy admissions policies of Harvard University and other institutions wouldn't even exist. So what is Derek Johnson talking about? That's my opinion. I could be right. Oh, I'm sorry to be critical of the NAACP, but I'm just telling the truth. That effort that the NAACP is talking about will be interesting to see how this plays out. Yeah. Joe Biden, we're going to talk about Joe Biden in a little while. We got a lot of time. Joe Biden suggested last week that the university should rethink the practice of saying legacy admissions is right and expand privilege instead of opportunity. Huh? What are you talking about, Joe? Several Democrats have demanded an end to the policy in light of the court decision, along with Republicans, including Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, who is vowing for a GOP presidential nomination. One day I'll talk about Tim Scott from South Carolina. Well, maybe we can get him on the program because no one's going to vote for Tim Scott, I don't think, out of Massachusetts. Very few people. I don't think he's going to be able to switch any black votes in Massachusetts. Very doubtful, but hey, guess what? Maybe, just maybe, we'll invite him on this program and talk about the issues that are important to the African American community. I don't think we're going to get any answers from him, but we will see. It's unclear exactly which schools provide a legacy boost and how much it helps. In California, where state law requires that schools to disclose their practice, at the University of Southern California, they reported that 14% of last year's admitted students had family ties to alumni and donors. Stanford reported a similar rate. So here we go. The University of Southern California, Harvard University, Stanford, all these institutions, look at them. 14% of last year's admitted students had family ties or were essentially legacy donators. Well, there's more. There's more to this. An Associated Press survey of the nation's most selective colleges last year found that legacy students in the freshman class range between 4% and a whopping 23%. Did you hear me? 4% to a whopping 23% of the people that are admitted to these, prestigious and selected, colleges and universities, these nice ones, like Notre Dame and USC and Cornell and Dartmouth. They've been allowing these legacy students come in. And by the way, let me give you another piece of my mind. Well, a piece of fact. Legacy students outnumbered Black students. Did you hear me? And those universities, Notre Dame, USC, Cornell, and Dartmouth, legacy students outnumbered Black students. I rest my case. Support for the policy says it builds an alumni and community and encourages donations. Well, those are the supporters of legacy. Yeah, yeah. The alumni community is built and encourages donations. So this is all about the donations. It's not about educational opportunity. So guess what, NAACP? Instead of spending a lot of time on debating if, and guess what? I guess it might be a contradiction that I'm going to say right now, kind of, sort of. I'm concerned about legacy colleges and universities such as Harvard, Notre Dame, USC, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, all of those having legacy students that outnumber Black people. But maybe, just maybe, the NAACP could spend more time supporting Black institutions, historically Black institutions, my good friends. Do you hear what I'm saying? Historically Black institutions. Oh, because why? Let me segue to something that is important. And I'm segueing to Florida, if you don't mind. I'm covering all bases. I'm going around the country today, talking about issues that are important to the African American community, particularly around education. And let me tell you, this guy, we're back into politics again. Governor Ron DeSantis. I don't even know if he's a real governor or not. I guess he was elected governor. Governor Ron DeSantis, who was running for president, has made a decision. And what is the decision that he has made? He has made a decision to bar high school students from taking a newly advanced placement course on African American studies over concerns that the lessons run contrary to the state law that is significantly lacks educational value. So African American studies significantly lacks educational values as far as Ron DeSantis is concerned. So there's an attack on Black folks in education around the country. Yeah. And Ron DeSantis and the state of Florida is cracking down on race issues and how race is taught in the public schools in Florida. Yeah. Florida's educational officials rejected the course from being implemented in classrooms as the College Board this year launches a pilot program for its development. The Florida Department of Education left the door open to possibly accepting a course eventually, but only if the content is tweaked to meet state guidelines. So Ron DeSantis and all these other folks across the country, essentially Republicans, are making a calculated decision. It's an attack on Blacks, and it's an attack on Black education. When I say Blacks, you know who I'm talking about, us. It's an attack on us, my good friends. But Here we go. I'm wondering in the body politic if there's going to be anyone standing up with us to address this onslaught of attack on Black education in the United States. State by state, folks are attacking us. And I'm wondering as well, hold on and wait a minute. We'll segue into another conversation here, and that's body politics as well. But here in Washington, D.C., there is a president, and I'm wondering if the president has the capability of being president for another 4 years. Can President Biden actually take on these educational challenges, take on the economy, take on the United States Supreme Court? Let's stack the court a little bit. Let's get more judges on the court appointed by Biden, at least before the end of this cycle that he has. I doubt if we can do it. I wish we could. It would take a House of Representatives that is controlled by the Republicans and the Senate to vote on that, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see that expansion happening anytime soon. I'm concerned about Joe Biden. Have you seen how he walks now? Yeah, he walks like a 80-year-old. I mean, come on now. You slow down, you slow up as you walk. But I'm just wondering, can he hold it down? Oh, we're going to talk about this for a moment. Biden is having a challenge right now, and that is his coalition that elected him into office is kind of fraying. He's having a challenge, my good friends. Yep. In the days that President Biden formally launched his campaign for the 2024 election cycle, a number of his political coalition that essentially lifted him up over former President Donald Trump in 2020 are far from excited about another 4 years. Actually, as I've talked to Black folks across the US, there's a whole bunch of folks that are saying, not Biden, but definitely not Trump. That's what Black folks are saying. That's not an opinion. That is what I hear. Former Senator Joe Biden, now President Biden, is having some challenges. That's a fact. Hey, remember former Senator Joe Lieberman? Yeah, the guy that you couldn't trust. Well, I didn't trust him, and a whole bunch of other folks didn't trust him. He's out of Connecticut, right around the corner from Boston. He's a Democrat turned independent, long known for his shaky ways, shaky views on everything. He couldn't stand for anything. He was considered a centrist, whatever that means. He blew with the wind, kind of, sort of, whatever. Yeah. He voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but as Biden's re-election campaign begins, Lieberman is preparing to recruit a third-party candidate capable of defeating the Democratic president. I told you Joe Lieberman is a little snakish. Don't get me wrong. I'm not into name calling. I just call it the way I see it, a little snakish. Centrists and moderates feel he has governed more from the left than they hope, said Lieberman, a leader of the group No Labels, said of Biden in an interview, he hasn't been able to be a unifier that he promised to be. Oh, little snakish Joe Lieberman doing his thing like he always has done. I was so glad that he got out of politics anyway. Bye, Joe Lieberman. Biden, by the way, his political challenges are not confined to voters in the middle. In the days since he formally launched his 2024 campaign, key members of the sprawling political coalition that lifted him over former President Donald Trump. Oh, I just have a problem even saying his name. In 2020, are far from excited about the prospect of 4 more years. Yeah, that underscores the test confronting Biden in many ways. And the fact is, he's aiming to motivate a coalition of African Americans, Latinos, young people, suburbanites, and independents to show up for him again. Well, I'll tell you, I'm not sure if he's going to get a whole bunch of that coalition showing up for him. Yeah. Biden has to essentially demonstrate, in my humble opinion, his ability to fight. If he's not fighting for the education of Black folks, well, guess what? He's not going to get a whole bunch of Black youth voting for him. Actually, unfortunately, Black youth don't vote to the level that they should at all. Fact is, Biden has struggled to fulfill most of the key promises that he made to Black voters. Yeah, he got Supreme Court Ketanji Brown Jackson to become the first Black woman on the United States Supreme Court. Salute you on that, Joe Biden. But the fact of the matter is that he has not been able to protect voting rights. You hear the lightning strike. Not sure if you heard that in the background. The fact of the matter is he's not been able to follow through with his pledges to protect voting rights again. And by the way, this wave, and it's a big wave of Republican-backed restrictions, some of which I just talked about in Florida and what they're doing to enact, all sorts of restrictions for educational opportunity. Yeah. And actually, he hasn't been able to enact policing reform to help stop the violence against Black folks at the hands of law enforcement. Limited, my good friends. Nothing, Burger. Zero on police reform nationally. Yeah. There's a lot of work to be done, my good friends. Fact of the matter is that Black folks put Biden in, and there has not been a very strong impact of Joe Biden there has not been a strong impact on Joe Biden's work. We had some technical difficulties. Actually, here in the Washington, D.C. area, we're having some storms. And so our internet got disconnected, but we are back now. And as I was saying, the challenges faced by the current president to get reelected are formidable. He has some challenges. And we will see if in the next number of months, 18 months to be exact, he can get elected, yeah, as president or reelected as president of the United States. Hold on and wait a minute. There's more about this presidency issue. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, Biden's chief rival in 2020, in the primary, told Associated Press just a few hours ago that he was endorsing the president and encourage other progressives leaders to do the same. He says, I intend to do everything I can to see he's elected, says, Bernie Sanders in an interview, instead of, excitement for the 80-year-old president's reelection. Leaders from key faction of Biden's coalition report a serious sense of duty and fear for the alternative. Trump is currently considered a favorite to claim the Republican presidential nomination, although he's facing opposition from a half a dozen rivals. Excuse me. It would be a mistake to underestimate Trump or whoever the Republican candidate might be, says Sanders. There is a lot of disconnect in this country. There's a lot of anger in this country. Really? You think there's a lot of anger? There's no question there's a whole bunch of anger in this country. We just came through a pandemic. We saw a nation under attack, a Congress under attack, a Senate under attack. We can go on forever. How many shootings have we experienced? Over 300 in a year. 300, and I'm not talking about individual shootings. I'm talking about mass shootings. Over 300 this year. We need a president who's addressing those and other issues in real time. That's a fact too. 74% of US adults believe the country is headed in the wrong direction. I'm one of them. You're probably one of them too, that are saying, hey, guess what? We got to do something different. We got to do something better. Now, no, Trump would be no better. He'd be worse. But the fact of the matter is that we got to look at Joe Biden. Is he ready for prime time for 4 more years? A poll found that only half of the Democrats think that Biden should run again. Anybody think that Biden should run again? Raise their hand. Well, I'm not raising my hand, but look at the alternatives. There's none right now. A poll, AP poll, found that only half of Democrats think Biden should run again, despite their reluctance. 81% of Democrats said that they would probably support Biden in the general election if he is the nominee. So 80% of Democrats, 81% of Democrats will support Joe Biden in the general election if he's the nominee. That includes 41% who said they definitely would, and 40% who said they probably would. Probably, I'll probably vote. The warning signs are there for Biden. Just 41% of Black folks, Black adults, want the Democratic president to run. And only 55% said they are likely to support him in the general election if he is the nominee. Are you hearing this, my good friends? Among Latinos, only 27% want Biden to run again in 2024. And 43% said that they would definitely or probably support him. That's not a whole lot. I know there's a lot of time left, but that is not good news for Biden. Just 41% of Black adults want the Democratic president to run again. Biden has some challenges. Biden has some challenges. We're just a couple of minutes away from the end of this broadcast. We appreciate you coming in. This is All Things Black Politics. I'm your host, Leon Rock. We're talking politics, politics, politics. We have covered a lot tonight, today, this afternoon, this evening. I'm hoping that you're listening to this broadcast on Boston Black News. And we're going to cover some more issues. And actually, last week I was hoping to get on the broadcast a member of the Boston City Council that has had some challenges as of late with Islamophobia. And, she's been under attack. You know who I'm talking about. We're going to try to get her on next week. We're glad that we have been able to have this conversation about what is going on at Harvard University and other colleges and universities, the Joe Biden situation and what is happening there, and in the city of Boston, the challenge of traffic. We've covered a whole bunch, and we will continue to cover a whole bunch on all things Black politics. I'm your host, Leon Rock. We're going to see you next week at this time, 11 o'clock. Is that 11 or 2? Well, 11 o'clock. Well, you see, 1 and 1, 1 and 1. 11 o'clock, our time, East Coast time in Boston, Massachusetts. Again, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week to talk all politics.